Okay, ladies and gents, welcome back to part 11 of the RC Banjo build. This was taken from the free plan out of the RC M&E magazine about 6 months ago. I really must apologise for being so slow in producing part 11 as I've been busy refitting out my new workshop here. We've now vacated the spare bedroom and we're in a purpose-built workshop, which I'm really looking forward to start using. So going back to the build, as you can see, we've cut out the top hatch. This was all solidly planked if you've seen the previous video. We've cut out the top hatch. I've lined the inside with 32nd ply just to make a lip for the hatch to sit on. I've used the waste that I cut out of the middle to make the hatch door. Simple tongue on the front, just glued on the inside, and that will locate under the lip at the front, and then we'll have a couple of magnets at the back or a catch of some description just to hold that into place like so. You can also see I've started covering the model. I've done the nose, and if I turn it over you can see what we've done on the other side. It's all using the cheap Hobby King covering, which is it is very cheap to be fair, but on a model like this it seems to be perfectly acceptable. It's quite easy to use, and to be honest, for the price of it I would highly recommend it for like your cheaper type models. You can see that I left a space out here for the battery hatch. When we planked the bottom of the model I just left a space there. I've actually got the hatch. I've done the same sort of thing by putting a tongue on the front. That slots in, and again we're going to use magnets or a catch at the back to hold it down. So that's where we're up to as yet. So today I really want to concentrate on the covering, and what I want to show you is actually how to cover a simple piece like this. Obviously I've chosen a small part because we don't want to take up too much time on the video, and don't want it to get too boring for you, but I'm sure many of you have tried your own covering in the past. It all works basically the same, so you know, let's give it a go. So what we've done, I'm going to cover it in yellow to match the bottom surface of the model. I've cut off a piece of covering that is, you know, probably 20mm bigger all the way around than the part that we're going to cover. So on the back of the covering there is a film that you have to pull away, protective covering there, so you just discard that, and we lay the covering flat onto the part that we're going to cover, sort of centralise it up all the way around like so. A little bit more that way I think, and then we're sort of ready to go. As you can see, we've sort of centralised it up. Just do it by eye, it hasn't got to be super fantastic at the stage. So what we do next, we get our covering iron, which is already switched on and preheated. It's a fairly high temperature, not flat out, but what we're going to do is tack it all the way around the edge first. I'm using an old sock, nothing special, just put an old sock on. That just gives the covering a little bit of protection when we start to iron it. So the first thing we want to do is to tack the one edge, which we simply do by running our iron backwards and forwards. I'm sure we can all do that. The next, just pull it slightly tight. We don't have to go mad because this film is going to shrink. So just get it so it's lying flat, and then do the opposite edge. Just tack that down like so. It's quite easy to do, it's quite therapeutic to be fair. So we've got two edges tacked. Like I say, it's not super tight at the moment, and all we do, a bit like wrapping a Christmas present, we have to take the corners out to allow the film to go around the corners. I may as well do them all while we're here. It's also advisable, or I would certainly advise, to always put a brand new blade in your scalpel. You really want a super sharp blade. Oops, that's stuck. Didn't want that. You want a super sharp blade, as you will see later, because when you cut, this material can sort of snag, and that's exactly what you don't want. You just want to keep it as neat as you possibly can. So I've taken the corners out, all four corners, so now we can start to fold the covering round on the inside. Now I'll go back to that first edge that I tacked down, and I'm just basically rolling it round. Again, we don't have to be super careful because this is going to be on the inside. It's never going to see light of day again, but it just depends what sort of a perfectionist you are. We'll just tack that down on the inside, and what we'll do, we'll trim the excess off when we've finished. So again, we want to bring that round. So bring your iron round and just roll it round with your iron. Just sort of iron it up and down a bit. You'll find your own way of doing this, but this is just to give you a starter for 10 on how to do it. So I'll just show you what we'll do. We'll cut down that inside, down the edge, just to make it look pretty. Comes off nice and easy. Back on with the iron. Beautiful. We'll do the same on the other side that we've just done. I'll slit that. Like I say, it's something that just comes with a little bit of practice. You want to experiment on a bit of scrap first, just to test the temperature of your iron, etc. If you've not used it before, or you've not used this particular covering before, it's always best to just have a little go on a bit of scrap before you start doing the wings or any sort of big area where you're going to waste a lot of the plastic if you make a mistake. Again, just fold this round on the inside now. I must say this covering is pretty good, to be fair, for the cheap stuff. I normally use the likes of Oracover. I sort of make a lot of sort of older airplanes, so I use the text type covering. But you know, for something cheap and cheerful, I think it's really good. So we're just cutting that away on the inside again. Again, nothing too special. You can just draw the knife along, take the excess off, just iron it down, make sure it's firm. Always make sure it's firm on the edges, because when you come to stretch the material, obviously if it isn't on the edges, you know, tight, it's going to peel away. So back onto the top edge. This is slightly more complicated. I'm just pulling it slightly because it's got that lip, that tongue that's going to locate it into the model. So I really want to get into that corner now, like so. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, if I'm capturing it or not. It's a bit difficult to do when you can't see the camera. And then just do the top of the tongue, and then we're into, again, cutting the corners away. I think I'll just do a diagonal cut from the corner outwards on both of them, and then I'll do one that way and that way. So we'll just iron down the edge. You get the idea anyway. Just allowing plenty to come over on the edge, because obviously this hatch is going to be taken off and on quite a bit in its lifetime, so we just want to make sure it's adhered really well. It's actually stuck a little bit in it. That's better. So let's just get the edge of the tongue down and line that all the way over. So this isn't going to be seen again, so we can sort of get away with it a bit on the inside. It's not a problem. So I'll just cut the excess of that tab off on both sides. You can see it's starting to take shape now. It's looking somewhere near. Again, I think we'll take the majority off because it's only scrap. We've already covered it on with the other side. This is where a sharp blade comes in. It's always good to have a sharp blade, and we'll just fold that over on the inside. I've done this a bit quick really. I should have taken my time a little bit more with it, I suppose, but I just wanted to give you a quick idea. Right, so go up round all the edges now, making sure that they're all down, and all that's left now is to actually stretch it. There's two ways you can do that. You can put your iron on a high temperature, or you can use a hot air blower, which I use quite a lot to be fair, but being that this is a solid surface, I'll just do it with the iron. So all you have to do really is hover over with the iron, just keeping the iron moving. Might need a bit more temperature actually on mine, but just keep it moving and it will start to shrink it down like so. And believe you me, if I can do this, anybody can. I'm not the best coverer in the world by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just a case of having a go. Do the top of the tongue. I can see a little bit of a wrinkle appearing there. That's about it. As you can see, I'm now pressing on it. Now it's shrunk, I'm pressing on it because I want the actual glue to adhere it to that surface. You'll see a lot of models when they've been out in the sun all sort of bubbling up. If you make a good job at this stage, it does help. So there we are, job done. Inside, yeah, it's fairly neat, it's good enough for what we want. So when we put it back onto the model, it should all match and all blend in. Nice, which it does. I'm quite pleased with that. Right, so what we're going to do next, what I've decided to do is obviously cover the control surfaces. I'm going to do the underside in yellow to match the bottom. I'm going to do the top side, the whole wing, and the top side of the elevons in this retro orange colour. This is a sort of 1980s colour, which is just what I want for this model, being it's a sort of early 80s type design. So I want to make it sort of retro-y look. What I'm going to do, I'll cover the whole surface of the wing exactly the same as I did with that cover by tacking it round the edge and then stretching it. Exactly the same technique. I'll perhaps use the hot air blower on it just to get it stretched a little bit easier than with the iron. But apart from that, it's exactly the same. Once I've covered the whole top of the wing, what I intend to do is to remove the covering where the tail plane, the vertical tail plane, will be glued. So So when I glue it, obviously we're gluing onto the wood and not the film covering. But I just think it'll make it easier to cover the wing first and actually attach the tailplane last. That's my thoughts at the moment. So hopefully when you come back to part 12 that will be done and we can move on to installing the motor, the ESC and the servos for the control surfaces. So that's about it for part 11. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's given you a little insight on covering, on how easy it is to cover, nothing to be frightened of. I look forward to you coming back again. If you like the series, please like and subscribe to the channel so you get further updates. Okay folks, thank you very much and goodbye.